Hey guys, welcome to Game Informed Family. This is Game Informed Mom, and today we're going to be reviewing Tattletail. This is a game that I played for the Terrortober 2020 event. Before I get into it, I do want to just kind of briefly go over a little bit of history for those of you that either don't remember or blocked it out of your mind because Furbies were creepy. Tattletail, the actual doll or toy, whatever it is, very much reminds me of a Furby. So in 1998, Tiger Electronics released the Furby. It was the must-have toy for the holiday season. They actually sold 1.8 million units that year, and it went on to sell 40 million units in its first 3 years. There were revival attempts in 2005, 2012, and 2016. None of the revivals captured that must-have feeling that the first one had, that the original had. But like I said, Tattletail is basically a Furby, just fat and chunky. And then there's Mama Tattletail, which we're not going to get into that right now. So, before we get into too much of the review, I do want to mention that there will be spoilers. It is a review of a game, and we're going to talk about the story. Now, I won't reveal the end of the story, or even the later part, because it's weird, and if you're gonna play the game, I think that you should be allowed to come to that on your own. That being said, I will be talking about the beginning and middle of the story, so if you don't want to hear that, make sure you skip the story part. I will link in the description to timestamps so that once we get to the story, you can go ahead and skip it, and I will remind you, I will let you know that we are about to talk about the story when we get there. This will be your only warning other than me telling you that we're about to talk about the story. There will be spoilers. Alright, so first, but just to get it out of the way, I want to talk about the graphics. The graphics are really simple, and I get that the game takes place in 1998, and it almost has a CRT feel to it, but I think that detracts from the horror of the game, that horror atmosphere that they're trying to put you into. That on top of the just dark everywhere, I think very much detracts from the atmosphere. One thing I do want to mention, it's not related to graphics, but it's just kind of weird. The basement of the house feels like it's at least twice as large as the upstairs. It's just weird. But moving on, I want to talk about sound and music. So, the sound overall was less than impressive. The sound that the toys make was actually really good. It's got that mechanical sound that the Furby made when it moved its eyes or its mouth beak thing or its ears. It had that very mechanical sound, and the Tattletails have that sound. Very, it just put me back to holding a Furby. Okay, but that being said, when there are sounds happening in the house, you can't tell where they're coming from. They sound like they're in the next room over, or at least upstairs, but they're not. They're downstairs, halfway across the house, or all the way across the house. And just the fact that you can't tell where sounds are coming from in a game where you need to be able to tell where the sound is coming from, I think was a bad move. Now, I don't know if they just didn't do it well or if it was intentional, but it very much took away from the game itself. The music, there was very little music to be heard, but what was there was, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. The voice of your Tattletail is actually very, very well done. It's filtered to sound like the toy is actually the one that's talking, because it is. And from what I can recall, mimics the sound of a Furby pretty well. Alright. Now, we're going to talk about the story now. Okay, we're talking about the story. Links in the description if you need to skip the story part. So, you play as an unnamed child who, 5 days before Christmas, finds your Christmas gift wrapped up and just chilling on the table in the basement. We're not gonna ask about that though. So naturally, you have to open it. What could it be? Why, it's a Tattletail. What else could it be, right? 1998 Christmas. Of course it's a Furby / Tattletail. So, now that you've opened this gift, you have to take care of it. You have to feed it, brush it, charge its battery, and then you're gonna put it back away. And then the next night, oh my gosh, it's awake all by itself. It's gotten out of its own wrapping now, and now you have to not only take care of your Tattletail, you have to do some little task around the house. Like this particular one in the video is that you're investigating a clunking noise that sounds like it's upstairs. That's actually downstairs. But so each night you have a little task like this. You have to investigate this or move this, or it's basically fetch quests. It's fetch quests without having an NPC to actually return something to. So there's 5 nights of that. Well, 4 nights, but neither here nor there. All the while you're doing these little fetch quests and finding these eggs like the one I just found, you have to elude Mama Tattletail. Mama Tattletail is not like the other Tattletails. The other Tattletails are rightly afraid of Mama Tattletail. Mama is creepy and scary, but she's not, she's really not scary, but she is your antagonist for the game. Mama looks similar to the other Tattletails, but these are actually baby talking Tattletails, and Mama is the mama. And she has different capabilities than the baby talking Tattletails. It's hard to say, by the way. She actually reminds me of the old Teddy Ruxpin in functionality. Like, you can put, now it's a VHS, which is not what Teddy Ruxpin took. If I'm not mistaken, he took cassette tapes, which, if you're not old enough to know what a cassette tape is, Google it. But yeah, she very much reminds me of Teddy Ruxpin. In functionality only. So, like I said, you have to feed, brush, and charge this Tattletail to keep it quiet, because noise attracts Mama, who happens to be trying to eat your face off for the entire game. So, yeah, if you fail to care for your Tattletail becomes very, very loud. And if you let the battery get low, or, almost die, oh man, the audio slows down, making the voice horrifyingly scary. That actually is the scariest part of the game, is if your Tattletail starts to get low battery and starts to talk real slow. That was horrible. That was really horrible. That was a very, very bad impersonation. So anyway, it's horrifying, okay? So beyond that, you have the crappiest flashlight in the history of flashlights. It's a glow stick flashlight. You have to shake that stupid thing so much, and it causes this rattle when you shake it. It rattles, I guess. Way too often you have to do that. Way too often you'll find yourself walking in the dark because you hear Mama and you can't shake that stupid flashlight, and you're just as likely to just stand there in the same spot and hope to God that Mama doesn't find you as you are for Mama to eat your face off. Now the deaths, there's no gore, there's nothing. I say she's gonna eat your face off, but that's just what I say, because she probably did eat your face off, but you don't know what happened. So, the atmosphere that's created by this need to remain silent, and this inability to control this object in your hand that's getting loud and crazy, and because you didn't feed it, and oh my god, it's not tense at all. It's more annoying than anything when your Tattletail starts getting riled up because it's hungry or it needs to be brushed or, heaven forbid, the battery dies. And you have to do these things way too often. Way too often. It's crazy. So the darkness of the environment, like, it can't make up for the fact that there's just no tension. It's still not a scary environment for a horror game. It could have been done well, but it wasn't. I mean, like, the house itself could have been really creepy, especially with the flashlight going out and everything. And beyond that, like, the jump scares they're cheap and predictable. At best, you have this, like, sense of paranoia while you're walking through the house, because Mama's looking for you and she's trying to eat your face off. But there's no tension, and if you die, you just go back to the beginning of your task. And then when you go back to the beginning of your task, your Tattletail is fully fed, charged, and brushed, which is nice. It makes it much easier to actually get through some of the tasks that you unexpectedly, maybe you forgot to feed the stupid thing before you went downstairs, or whatever the case. When you die, you're golden. You're good to go. So, next thing I want to talk about is gameplay. And I will touch on controls briefly. The gameplay becomes really repetitive. You wake up, you grab your Tattletail, you do some stupid little task that it has you do, you evade Mama as best you can, or you die, and you start the task over. That's pretty much it. That's the game in a nutshell. It becomes boring very quickly. Each night is basically the same until you get to the end. And eluding Mama is not hard. All you have to do, if she sees you, if she spots you, or rather if you spot her, because if she spots you, she ate your face off. But if you spot her, if you see her red eyes looming in the dark, you just stop moving. Let your Tattletail just go crazy, do whatever it does, and just stop moving. Just stand there for 30 seconds, a minute, however long she's got left on her little timer, and she's gone. So it's not even challenging. The gameplay was like mildly interesting at first, but so the controls are basic. There's nothing weird here. You shake the words, man. You shake the flashlight. You hold the button, you shake it. It's not. You interact with things. You push the button. Push a mouse button. WASD to walk around. It's nothing. There's barely anything to talk about. But I wanted to mention it just because, in case you were curious. Next, I want to talk about the puzzles and the collectibles. Oh, how I hate collectibles. I hate puzzles too, if we're being honest. But oh, how I hate collectibles. They are evil. In this game, they're not that bad, but they're those little eggs that I've been collecting throughout. There's 22 maybe. There's not many of them, but if you collect them all, you'll get the true ending. But it's simply not worth going back to find any that you missed to get the other ending, because you just don't care. The puzzles are all very easy. They're very simple, which, for me to say the puzzles are simple, that's saying something, because I hate puzzles and I don't like hard puzzles. But for the most part, you knew exactly where you were supposed to go and what needed to be done when you got there. There's no challenge to the puzzles whatsoever. So, is Tattletail scary? Nope, it's not. Now, maybe maybe I felt this way partially because I just came off playing Layers of Fear, which was terrifying. But honestly, the only thing this game offers in the way of scary is dark rooms, jump scares, which are predictable and cheap, and an antagonist that just isn't creepy or scary. That's just a little creepy. Just a little weird. Creepy, maybe, but certainly not scary. Her voice is very, almost soothing. Mama is just not a good antagonist for the game. She's just not. So, I mean, it's not scary. It doesn't create tension. Like, right here, you can see Mama off in the distance. All you've got to do is just stand there, and then poof, she's gone. Now, I was toward the end of her hunt, but, I mean, it can take longer than that. It can take a minute, even. But that's it. That's all you have to do. There's no tension. There's no fear of her catching you, unless she catches you off guard and you don't see her. So, what's the verdict on this one? I mean, honestly, it's not scary. The story is too cryptic to be effective, and there's almost zero replay value. The only reason to replay this is to go back and get any eggs that you might have missed, other than to get the true ending. Other than that, zero replay value. The game lasts maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that includes the free DLC that's included with the game, Kaleidoscope. If you remember the Furby, this might maybe be worth a play, just due to the nostalgia. Regular price on Steam for this game is $4.99 US. Honestly, that's a lot for this game, for an hour and a half, 2 hours of gameplay, including the DLC. I would wait for a sale. Even if you do remember the Furbies, I would wait for a sale. $2.50 maybe. Might be more reasonable. For anybody who doesn't remember the Furbies, honestly, this is a skip. I wouldn't waste your money unless you enjoy those like cheap jump scares, like Five Nights at Freddy-esque games. It's not worth your time or your money. Yeah, that's all I've got on this one. I was not impressed with the game at all. I picked it up. I got it in a Humble Bundle at some point, so I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I'm not upset that I bought it or got it, but yeah, not worth your time or your money. So this has been our review of Tattletail for Terrortober 2020. If you are interested in seeing our other games that we played for Terrortober 2020, I will link in the description to our playlist for the month, and also there will be some cards somewhere on the end screen. You can click on some of those. But yeah, that's it. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you know every time we publish content. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. We very much appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next episode.